Thank you for joining us for the Algebra 2 V14 course training for Segment 2. We are going to cover Segment 2 content lesson summaries, general lessons, and honors projects. Segment 2 starts with Module 6, Systems and Equations and Inequalities. This module introduces students to various methods for solving systems of equations and inequalities. The module checklist starts with 600 and goes to 608, which is the module exam. The new lessons they learn in this module are 601 through 603 and 605. The key concepts in this module are systems of equations, special systems, literal equations. We deal with no solutions, infinite solutions, breaking down complicated equations, everything dealing with systems. 601 is solving systems of equations algebraically. The students will go through systems of equations, solving systems of equations through elimination, real-world applications, special systems, literal equations, solving systems of equations through substitution, solving systems of equations with 3 variables through elimination. The assessment for this lesson is 10 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 6.02 is solving systems of nonlinear equations. The students will learn nonlinear systems, systems of equations with a rational equation, systems of equations with a circle. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions and it's worth 10 points. 603, graphing systems of linear equations. In this lesson, students learn about no solutions, infinite solutions, finding solutions using technology, real-world scenarios, and multiple representations. By multiple representations, we mean looking at a function in different ways. For example, the graph and a table of values. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions, 10 points total. 6.05 is graphing systems of nonlinear equations. This is a teacher-graded assignment and also an opportunity for students to be able to collaborate with another student. In this lesson, students learn breaking down complicated equations and applications of systems of equations. The assessment for 605, as stated earlier, is a teacher-graded assessment, and it's worth 10 points. The assessment summary for Module 6, 601 is auto-graded, 602 and 3 are also auto-graded. 604 is partially auto-graded, which it means that it's a quiz, and it will cover material in 601 through 603. And then 605 is fully teacher-graded. Module 7, exponential and logarithmic functions. This module introduces students to exponential and logarithmic functions and graphs, as well as logarithms and their properties. The module checklist from 7.00 through 7.11, and students learn new material in the following 7 lessons, 701 through 704, and 706 through 708. Key concepts in this module deal with exponential functions, logarithmic functions, the properties of logarithms, average rate of change, inverse exponential functions, inverse logarithmic functions. 701, exponential functions. The students learn exponential functions, solving exponential equations, applications of exponential functions, exponential growth, exponential decay. The assessment for this lesson is 10 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. 7.02, logarithmic functions. Remember back in the segment 1 training video, the important note boxes that students need to remember. In this lesson, the students will learn logarithmic functions, evaluating logarithms, solving logarithmic equations. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. 703, the properties of logarithms. Students learn the change of base formula with the common logarithm, change of base formula with the natural logarithm, properties of logarithms, and solving logarithmic equations with constants. There are some calculator tips throughout this lesson, as the students will only be able to solve some logarithmic equations with a calculator. The assessment for this lesson is 10 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. 7.04, solving exponential equations with unequal bases. In this lesson, students learn solving exponential equations with unequal bases and changing time increments. The assessment for this lesson is 4 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 706, graphing exponential functions. The interactive on the right-hand side allows the students to see the difference between exponential functions when the base is a decimal and when the base is greater than 1. They'll use the sliders to see the difference in the two. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. 706 is graphing logarithmic functions, and that's what they learned in this lesson. This is a collaboration opportunity for the students. It is fully teacher graded, and the students can work by themselves or they can work with another student for a total of 10 points on the assessment. 708, putting exponential and logarithmic functions together. In this lesson, students learn about combining the functions algebraically, applications of combined functions, and the inverse of exponential functions. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. The assessment summary for Module 7, 701 through 706 are auto-graded. 707 is teacher-graded with the collaboration opportunity, and then 708 is auto-graded. Module 8 is all about sequences and series. This module introduces students to the arithmetic and geometric sequences in series, as well as sigma notation. The module checklist goes from 0-0 for the pretest all the way to 8-11 for the Module 8 exam. Students learn new material in the following 7 lessons, 801 through 804 and 806 through 808. Key concepts in this module are arithmetic sequences, recursive formulas, explicit formulas, domain and range, geometric sequences, sigma notation, geometric series, and then graphing of the sequence using technology, average rate of change, and graphing arithmetic sequences. Lesson 801, arithmetic sequences. Students will learn arithmetic sequences, recursive formulas, explicit formula, converting recursive and explicit equations, and domain and range. As you can see in the examples down here, they do learn all the different ways in which they will see arithmetic sequences. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. Arithmetic series. The students learn about the arithmetic series formulas in this lesson. They have a nice little interactive there where they will match the variable with the definition. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 803, geometric sequences. Students learn geometric sequences, recursive formula, explicit formula, and converting recursive and explicit equations. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 804 is geometric series. For this lesson, the students learn about the geometric series formulas. The assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 804, they get into sigma notation. So in this lesson, they learn about sigma notation and sums not using the first term. The assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 807 is infinite, convergent, and divergent series. Nice little interactive so the students can tell what is divergent and what is convergent. They learn partial sums of arithmetic series, partial sums of geometric series, convergent and divergent series. This assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 808 is graphing sequences in series. Quite a few topics in this lesson. They learn discrete versus continuous, graphing a sequence using technology, average rate of change, graphing an arithmetic sequence, graphing a geometric sequence, and graphing an arithmetic or geometric series. They have a few nice graphics showing them the difference between discrete and continuous. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. The Module 8 assessment summary. All of the lessons in this module are auto-graded. Module 9 is all about statistics. In this module, the students are introduced to probability and statistics, including how to make predictions about life events, how to evaluate reports, and how to be savvy consumer of data. The Module 9 checklist is as follows from 900 to 911 from the pretest to the module exam. The lessons they'll be learning in this module are from 901 through 903 and 905 through 908. Key concepts in this module: defining a sample space, unions, intersections, and complements, conditional probability, empirical rule, estimating population proportions, estimating population mean, randomization in experiments, and comparing treatments. 901 deals with events and outcomes in a sample space. They learn about defining a sample space, two-way tables, Venn diagrams, unions, intersections, and complements. Nice interactives in this lesson where the students enter the data themselves to see if they are correct. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 9.02 deals with independent probability. The students learned about probability, independent probabilities, two-way tables and independence, and Venn diagrams and probabilities. This assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 903 deals with conditional probability. The students learn not only about conditional probability, but interpreting probability, probability of unions, and intersections. Nice interactive in this lesson as well, where the students decide if something is mutually exclusive or not mutually exclusive. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 905 deals with normal distribution. Nice interactive in this lesson as well, where the students can see how the mean and standard deviation relate to normal distribution. In this lesson, they learn about the normal distribution curve, empirical rule, finding a raw score, and using technology. In this assessment, students are responsible for 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 906 deals with models of populations. Students learn about generating data and making inferences. In this assessment, students are responsible for 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 907 is all about using surveys. The topics covered in this lesson are estimating population proportions, estimating population mean, evaluating observational studies. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 908, using those experiments. Students learn about experimental design, evaluating experiments, randomization in experiments, and comparing treatments. The assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. Assessment summary for Module 9. All of the assessments are auto-graded. And last but certainly not least, Module 10, Trigonometry. This module introduces students to trigonometry, where they will learn where trigonometric functions come from, how to graph them, how they compare them to other functions such as linear, quadratic, and cubic functions. The module checklist from 10.00 all the way to 10.13. This one is a little bit lengthy because it does include Segment 2 review and the Segment 2 exam. The new lessons the students will be learning are 10.01 and 10.02, and then 10.04 through 10.06. The key concepts start anywhere from learning about the unit circle all the way to the Pythagorean identity, proofs using the identities, examining functions, unit circle and the coordinate plane. 10.01 deals with introduction to the unit circle. Students are responsible for learning angles in standard position, the unit circle, trigonometric functions of acute angles, radian measures, and arc length. This assessment is 5 multiple choice questions for a total of 10 points. 10.02 is a unit circle and the coordinate plane. There's quite a few graphics in this lesson. It reviews the unit circle itself and also the different quadrants. Students are responsible for learning the unit circle and the coordinate plane, points outside the unit circle, quadrant values, and reference angles. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 10.04, trigonometric functions with periodic phenomena. In this section, students learn domain and range of sine and cosine, features of sine and cosine curves, the standard form of the equations for sine and cosine, graphing sine and cosine by hand, tangent graphs, trigonometric phenomena, and rate of change. The assessment for this lesson is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 10.05, we're dealing with Pythagoras, trigonometry, and quadrants. This is where they get into the trig identities. They learn about the Pythagorean identity, proofs using trigonometric identities, and simplifying trigonometric expressions. This assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. 10.06 deals with functions of all types. During the course, the students learned about all different types of functions. In this lesson, they compare them to each other. The assessment is 5 multiple choice questions worth 10 points. The Module 10 assessment summary. Just about everything is auto-graded except for 10.03, and that is partially auto-graded, which means that it is a quiz where there is one essay question that the teacher grades. Now we're going to talk a little bit about DBAs. Each module does have a DBA that is associated with it. The lesson numbers are displayed here on the screen. Each DBA is worth 30 points, and there are rubrics included along with suggested questions on the answer key. There are module quizzes with no assessment. These module quizzes were in a previous version of the course. They now have a placeholder there called self-assessment. In the self-assessment, the students are just asked to review the essential questions that they have come in contact with up to that point. The ones that were replaced are on the screen: 204, 305, 505, 705, 805, and 904. They are no longer responsible for an assessment on those lessons. Each segment, the students are responsible for doing a collaboration with another student. Whenever they do a collaboration, there is a collaboration component form that they must fill out, and that form is to be submitted in 514 for segment 1 and 10.11 for segment 2. In the honors project, students are responsible for learning extra standards than regular students would learn. So they are presented with new material based on those standards, and then also tasks to go along with those standards. 80% of it's formative, 20% summative. There is a rubric included, and there's one per segment. Segment 1 honors project is 5.10. Segment 2 honors project is 10.7. As you can see, the students will be presented with this short little paragraph up here to let them know that if they are not an honors student, they can skip the project. Here are the extra standards that the students are responsible for segment 1 and for segment 2. Regular students are not responsible for these standards. That's why these are placed in a lesson all to itself. They get into polynomial identities, binomial theorem, fundamental theorem of algebra, understanding rational expressions. In segment 2, they get into multiplication rule, permutations, combinations, fair decisions, and analyzing probability. The first page of the honors project for 5.10 in segment 1 looks like this. They do have essential questions just like all of the other lessons. In this one, they have 4 formative tasks throughout the honors project. Every time they learn a new concept or one of those standards, there is a task that is associated with it. And then the summative task would be task 5. That's when everything's all put together. The rubric for the honors project is in the answer key, but it's also available for the students to see. They can click on the green link that says rubric, so they know what is expected of them and how many points they get for each task. 10.07 deals with probabilities, permutations, combinations. It's laid out the same way as a segment 1 project. In 10.07, the students have 3 tasks that they are responsible for. Again, it does have a grading rubric that goes along with it, so they know how many points each task is worth. The rubric is available on the answer key and in the lesson. This concludes segment 2 training for Algebra 2 V14.